Fact 1. When you close your eyes and drift towards sleep, imagine the Nile, that long silver ribbon of water winding slowly through the desert. Ancient Egypt was born upon its banks, every grain of sand and every reed nourished by its gentle flood. Scientists today can trace the rhythm of the Nile to the movement of distant rains in the highlands of Africa, and yet to the Egyptians it was more than water, it was the breath of their world. To live by the Nile was to live within a pulse that never failed, a reminder that nature itself carries us, just as your breath carries you now into rest. Fact 2. The pyramids rise in the mind like quiet mountains of stone. You may picture them glowing softly beneath the twilight, their edges blurring as the desert cools. These monuments were not merely tombs, but whispers in stone, messages to eternity. Each block, perfectly shaped, placed by hands that believed they were building something that would outlast the sky. Even now, as you rest, the weight of those stones remains, pressing against time itself. And in that endurance, you may find comfort, the sense that what we create in love and faith has a life beyond us. Fact 3. The ancient Egyptians believed the heart was the seat of thought and memory, not the brain. To them, the heart was the compass of the soul. They imagined that after death, the heart would be weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the principle of truth and balance. If the heart was light, it could pass into eternity. This image of a heart gently balanced with a feather is a meditation in itself. To live lightly, to let burdens fall, to move through the world with softness, so that even in dreams, your soul feels weightless. Fact 4. Hieroglyphs, those delicate carvings of birds, eyes, and spirals, were not only a language, but an art of memory. Each sign carried both sound and meaning, both word and picture, like a dream that could be read. The act of writing was called the words of the gods, for to carve hieroglyphs was to bring the divine into the visible world. Tonight, as you close your eyes, think of your own dreams as hieroglyphs, small, luminous symbols scattered through the night, each holding more meaning than its shape can show. Fact 5. The stars above ancient Egypt were also part of their story. They looked at Orion and saw Osiris, the god of rebirth. They looked at Sirius, the brightest star, and watched it rise each year just before the Nile's flood, marking the new year. To them, the heavens and the earth were woven together like threads in a great cloth. Even now, when you look into the night sky, you are seeing the same lights that once guided their prayers and calendars. The stars are quiet witnesses, older than every pyramid, watching over both the ancients and you as you fall into sleep. Fact 6. The Egyptians made papyrus, the first paper, from reeds that grew by the Nile. Thin slices were pressed and smoothed until they formed sheets strong enough to carry words across centuries. It is through these fragile sheets that their voices still reach us. Love poems, hymns, instructions for planting. To imagine papyrus is to imagine the texture of time itself, something delicate yet enduring. Your dreams, too, are like papyrus scrolls, thin, fleeting, yet carrying messages from deep within your soul, words you may not remember, but which nonetheless shape you. Fact 7. Cats walked through the temples of Egypt with a kind of sacred quiet. They were protectors of homes, hunters of snakes, and companions to the people. The goddess Batet, often shown as a lioness or a cat, embodied both ferocity and tenderness. To the Egyptians, the cat was a guardian spirit, soft yet watchful. As you rest tonight, think of a cat curling near you, not in flesh, but in spirit, a presence of quiet protection, so you may let go of vigilance and trust the safety of sleep. Fact 8. The desert was not empty to the Egyptians. It was a horizon of mystery, a place where the sun died each evening and was reborn each morning. They saw the sun as a golden traveler who sailed through the underworld by night to rise again at dawn. Each sunrise was proof of resilience, a cycle that promised continuity. And so, as you drift into night, imagine the sun setting gently, not as an ending but as a passage, knowing that light waits quietly beyond the horizon of your dreams. Fact 9. Music drifted through ancient Egypt like a hidden wind. Harps, flutes, and sistrums, small rattles that shimmered like falling rain, filled the temples and homes. Music was prayer, celebration, and healing. Some songs were lullabies, sung by mothers to their children, melodies that have faded yet still echo in the silence of history. To listen for them is to feel a softness in the air, as if the very night hums a tune for you now, a song without words, guiding you into sleep. Fact 10. The Egyptians loved the lotus, that flower which blooms each morning from still waters and closes each night with the stars. To them, the lotus was creation itself, a symbol of life unfolding again and again. The petals, blue and pink, floated above the darkness of water, as if to remind us that beauty can rise from any depth. As you close your eyes tonight, you may feel yourself as a lotus too, slowly opening in dreams, slowly closing in rest, part of the eternal rhythm of nature. And so the first whispers of ancient Egypt fade into the night. The Nile flows gently on. The pyramids glow in the moonlight. The stars turn in silence. Your breath, slow and steady, joins this ancient rhythm. And the story, like the desert wind, softens into sleep. Fact 11. In the stillness of the desert night, the great Sphinx waits, a body of lion and a face of human, gazing toward eternity. Its eyes have watched countless dawns arrive across the sands. To the ancient Egyptians, the Sphinx was a guardian, a silent protector who held mysteries within its stone form. No one knows whose face it truly bears, but in that mystery lies its power. Just as dreams do not need to be solved to be beautiful, so too does the Sphinx remind us that some truths are meant to be contemplated quietly, like the breath of night itself. Fact 12. The Egyptians measured time not only with the sun, but with water. They invented devices called clepsydras, water clocks, where drops fell with a steady rhythm to mark the passage of hours. Imagine that sleep itself is like a water clock, each slow breath a drop, each dream a ripple in the vessel of the mind. The ancients knew that time is not only light and shadow but also flow, a river within us, quiet and unhurried, reminding you now that you do not need to chase it. You need only float. Fact 13. The art upon the temple walls was not only decoration, but living prayer. Colors were carefully chosen, blue for the heavens, gold for the divine, green for rebirth. When you picture these paintings by the light of flickering oil lamps, you can feel their intention, not to capture beauty alone, but to weave the world of gods and humans into harmony. Even in dreams, colors appear with hidden meaning, a sky more vivid, a river more luminous. The Egyptians knew that to paint was to invite the sacred into sight, and in your sleep, you too become an artist of hidden worlds. Fact 14. They believed the afterlife was a journey across fields known as the Field of Reeds, a perfect reflection of life along the Nile, but more abundant, more peaceful. Crops grew taller, waters flowed clearer, and loved ones reunited there. It was not an abstract heaven, but a dream made real. To imagine the Field of Reeds is to imagine a place where nothing is missing, where the simplest joys stretch on forever. Tonight, as you drift further, let this vision be your companion, a vast golden field swaying under a timeless sky. Fact 15. The Book of the Dead, despite its ominous modern name, was not a book of endings, but of guidance. It was a collection of spells and instructions, gentle reminders of how to navigate the mysteries after death. Written on papyrus, it whispered to the soul, "You are not lost, you are guided." Much like your subconscious whispers to you in dreams, shaping symbols to help you navigate your inner landscapes. To hold this thought is to remember, even in the unknown, there are directions waiting to be followed, gentle as stars pointing the way. Fact 16. Ancient Egyptians wore amulets shaped like scarab beetles, symbols of protection and renewal. The scarab, pushing its ball of earth across the desert, became a mirror of the sun rolling across the sky each day. This small creature carried cosmic meaning, reminding the people that even the tiniest life reflects the great cycles. When you see a beetle in your dream, or a small detail glimmering in memory, it may be more than it appears. It may be a sign that the vast and the small are always connected, and that the universe notices even the smallest movement of your heart. Fact 17. Perfume drifted through their world like invisible offerings. They blended oils of myrrh, frankincense, and lotus to anoint both the living and the statues of gods. To breathe such scents was to enter a sacred space. Imagine now the air around you carrying subtle sweetness, calming the body, opening the mind. Scents, like dreams, are fragile yet enduring. They vanish quickly, but linger in memory for years. The Egyptians knew that the invisible can be just as powerful as the visible, just as your quiet thoughts hold as much weight as spoken words. Fact 18. The temples themselves were designed as journeys. To walk from the outer court to the inner sanctuary was to move from sunlight into shadow, from the world of humans into the presence of gods. Each column, carved like a lotus stalk or a papyrus bundle, guided the visitor inward, deeper into stillness. You may think of falling asleep in the same way, beginning at the edges of awareness, then moving slowly, step by step, into the hidden sanctuary within yourself, where silence waits to receive you. Fact 19. The Egyptians believed in a concept called Ka, the life force that accompanied each person, a double of energy that stayed near, even after death. The Ka was fed with offerings of bread, water, and incense, because it too needed nourishment. You can imagine your own Ka now, a quiet twin beside you, not separate from you, but part of your essence, watching as you rest. The thought is comforting, that within you, there is a companion spirit that follows gently, never leaving, simply waiting in the calm. Fact 20. Finally, they saw life itself as a cycle, not a line. Birth, death, and rebirth flowed endlessly, like the Nile's rise and fall, like the sun's setting and rising, like the lotus opening and closing each day. To them, nothing was final, everything was transformation. This truth drifts easily into dreams, where scenes dissolve and return, where endings fold into beginnings. And as your breathing grows slower, you may feel this rhythm in your own body, a pulse that does not end, a cycle that promises continuity, a reassurance as soft as nightfall. Fact 21. Deep within the temples of Karnak, columns rise like stone forests, their tops carved into blooming papyrus and lotus shapes. When the sun moved overhead, shafts of light filtered down between them, creating shifting patterns of gold and shadow. Walking there was like walking through a dream carved in stone. The Egyptians built not simply with stone, but with intention, to let architecture itself become a poem. In your dreams tonight, you too walk among columns, each one a silent tree of memory, guiding you toward an inner sanctuary where stillness waits. Fact 22. Ancient Egyptians honored the ibis, a bird with slender legs and a long curved beak, sacred to Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing. They believed wisdom arrived as gently as the ibis stepping along the shore of the Nile, leaving delicate prints in the sand. Even today, the bird's shape feels like a hieroglyph come to life. To hold this image is to remember that wisdom does not shout. It arrives quietly, feather by feather, like thoughts before sleep, like truths whispered by your own mind in its softest moments. Fact 23. Their medicine was both practical and spiritual. Papyrus texts show recipes of honey, herbs, and willow bark, but they also included incantations, prayers woven into remedies. To them, healing was not only of the body but of the soul. As you rest, you may notice how your breath itself is medicine, calming your heart, softening your muscles, carrying you into ease. The Egyptians knew, as we know now, that healing is not just science, but something deeper, something felt in the quiet balance between body, spirit, and the night's embrace. Fact 24. The sacred scarlet sun disk was often shown resting between the horns of a cow goddess named Hathor. She was joy, music, dance, and maternal love. To call her name was to invite warmth and tenderness. Imagine her presence as the glow you feel when you remember comfort, when you are held, when your spirit is safe. The Egyptians filled their world with such symbols, reminders that even the vast sky could bend low and offer affection. In sleep, this same gentleness comes to you, surrounding you like a soft radiance. Fact 25. They built obelisks, tall stone spires carved from a single piece of granite, their tips pointed like arrows toward the heavens. Each one was a frozen ray of sunlight, a way to connect earth with sky. Imagine lying beneath an obelisk at dusk, its shadow stretching across the sand as stars begin to appear. To them, these monuments were not heavy, but light turned solid. Just as your dreams tonight may rise like spires, bridging the waking world and the vastness of imagination, reaching upward with effortless grace. Fact 26. In their love poems, still preserved on papyrus, voices speak with a softness that transcends time. One young lover calls their beloved the only one, without peer. Another compares love to a blossoming flower. These words, written thousands of years ago, feel as fresh as if whispered today. To read them is to feel how universal the heart is, how ancient and yet timeless tenderness can be. As you close your eyes, know that even across centuries, love continues to hum softly, like a lullaby no desert wind can erase. Fact 27. The desert itself was more than sand. To the Egyptians, it was a boundary, the red land that lay beyond the fertile black soil of the Nile. It was the place of endings and beginnings, silence and mystery. Dreams often carried deserts within them, wide, endless horizons, paths leading to unknown places. The Egyptians did not fear this landscape. They respected it, understood it as the other half of life. To dream of deserts is to enter that same understanding, that emptiness is not void, but possibility. Fact 28. The falcon soared in their sky as Horus, the god of kingship, whose sharp eyes saw everything. Temples depicted him as a bird rising, wings outstretched, sunlight on feathers. The falcon's flight was a metaphor for clarity, perspective, and vision. In your mind tonight, you may feel that same lightness, the sense of being lifted above your concerns, seeing life from a distance that soothes and frees. Just as the Egyptians looked upward and felt guided, so too do you rise, gently, within your dreams. Fact 29. Boats carved into tomb walls remind us how central the Nile was. They imagine journeys across water both in life and in the afterlife. The river was a road, a passage, a mirror of the sky. Each boat was not only wood and sail, but a vessel of spirit. Tonight, as you drift on the current of sleep, you too are in such a vessel, carried without effort by waters unseen, moving from one shore to another, guided by rhythms older than memory. Fact 30. And they saw eternity not as something far away, but as something already woven into the present. Every sunrise, every flood, every seed sprouting was part of an endless cycle, an echo of forever. The ancient Egyptians lived with eternity as one lives with breath, quiet, natural, constant. To rest with this thought is to feel no urgency, no fear, only continuity, like waves upon waves of time. Your dreams tonight are part of that same endlessness, folding you into the rhythm of what has always been and always will be. Fact 31. Beneath the desert sands lie countless tombs, some discovered, many still hidden. Each one is a chamber of silence, painted with colors that have not faded in thousands of years, because the desert preserves what time might otherwise erase. To enter such a place is to step into eternity, to see stories waiting patiently in the dark. Imagine yourself walking softly through such a chamber, the air cool, the walls alive with figures of gods and stars. Even your breath feels ancient there, as if time itself has slowed to rest beside you. Fact 32. The Egyptians honored crocodiles, fierce yet sacred creatures of the Nile. In temples dedicated to Sobuk, statues of crocodiles were covered in gold, and even mummified crocodiles were laid to rest with care. To them, these beings carried both danger and protection, strength and fertility. In dreams, too, images arrive with two sides. What seems fearsome may also be protective. What seems heavy may also be strength. The Egyptians knew that wholeness requires both, and so they offered reverence to the creatures others might only fear. Fact 33. In the Valley of the Kings, the tomb of Tutankhamun was found almost untouched, a room full of golden glow. Among the treasures lay a small dagger, its blade forged not from earthly metal but from a meteorite. Imagine that, a weapon of iron fallen from the stars, carried by a boy king into eternity. The Egyptians saw no boundary between heaven and earth, and here was proof. The sky itself could be shaped into something to hold. As you drift to sleep, Think of your own dreams as star metal, fragments of heaven carried gently into your heart. Fact 34. The ancient Egyptians invented calendars by watching the stars and the flood of the Nile. Their year was divided into 3 seasons: the time of flooding, the time of planting, and the time of harvest. Life was measured not by hours, but by the rhythm of nature, steady and unhurried. Your body still follows such cycles: waking and sleeping, inhaling and exhaling, opening and closing. To rest now is to step back into that timeless flow, into the certainty that the seasons of life turn without haste, carrying you as softly as the river's current. Fact 35. Mirrors of polished bronze shone in their households, reflecting both face and spirit. To gaze into a mirror was not merely vanity, but a way of seeing the Ka, the double self, shimmering through the metal. Tonight, when your eyes close, you too will gaze into mirrors, not of metal, but of dreams, where parts of yourself appear in new forms. The Egyptians understood that reflection is more than surface. It is depth, a glimpse of the unseen within what is seen. Fact 36. They told stories of the Bennu bird, a heron-like creature that shone with brilliant feathers, a symbol of rebirth. It was said to rise from fire and ashes, an image that would inspire later legends of the phoenix. The Bennu was linked to the cycles of the sun, endlessly dying and rising again. In your own dreams, you may feel this truth, that endings are only transformations, and that even in sleep, something within you is renewed, rising softly with each dawn. Fact 37. The desert winds sometimes unearthed fossils of great bones, and the Egyptians imagined them as remains of divine beings. Though they did not know of dinosaurs, they understood that the earth itself holds memory, layers of life folded into stone. To hold such a fossil was to touch deep time, a reminder that the present rests upon countless pasts. As you drift into the layers of your own subconscious, you too touch hidden strata of memory, echoes of lives and moments buried but not lost. Fact 38. They built libraries within their temples, collections of papyrus scrolls carefully stored, guarded by priests. These were houses of life, as they called them, where knowledge was kept safe. To walk into one was to walk into a sanctuary of words. Tonight, your mind too becomes a library, each dream a scroll, each thought a line of script. You may not remember every word upon waking, but the wisdom is there, shaping you quietly as you rest. Fact 39. The Egyptians adorned themselves with jewelry not only for beauty but for power. Gold was eternal, lapis lazuli mirrored the heavens, turquoise shone like the waters of the Nile. To wear these was to wear the cosmos, to carry fragments of sky and river upon one's body. In your dreams, you may find yourself wearing jewels not of stone but of light, radiant symbols of your own inner world, glimmering softly in the night. Fact 40. Above all, they believed that life was a balance. The goddess Maat held this balance in her feather of truth, ensuring harmony between humans, gods, and nature. To live well was to live in alignment with this balance. And so, as you sink deeper into sleep, feel your own balance returning, body and breath in harmony, thoughts and silence equal, the waking world and the dream world touching lightly like two sides of a feather. This is Ma'at. This is rest. This is the stillness that carries you safely into night. Fact 41. In the heart of Egypt's temples Statues of the gods were hidden in sanctuaries, veiled from ordinary sight. Only priests entered these chambers, where the divine was believed to dwell in carved form. Each morning, they would awaken the statue with ritual, washing it, dressing it, offering food. To the Egyptians, these figures were not stone, but vessels of presence. As you drift into sleep, think of your own inner sanctuary, a hidden place where your spirit rests, veiled from the world, yet alive and radiant within. Fact 42. The color blue, drawn from rare lapis lazuli brought from faraway lands, was sacred to them. It symbolized the heavens, the infinite waters, the realm of the gods, to where blue was to be wrapped in fragments of the sky itself. In your dreams, when blue unfolds as river or night, it carries the same ancient promise that you are part of the vastness, your spirit painted in the same hues as eternity. Fact 43. Their harvests were blessed with festivals where bread and beer were shared, the gifts of wheat and barley transformed by sun and hand. Even the simplest meal was woven into ritual, a reminder that nourishment is sacred. Tonight, as you rest, know that your breath itself is such a feast, each inhale and exhale sustaining you quietly, offering life in a rhythm so constant it becomes invisible until you pause to notice its holiness. Fact 44. They saw dreams not as random images, but as messages. Some temples had chambers where people slept to receive healing dreams from the gods. These were sacred nights of incubation, when sleep itself was a doorway to wisdom. As you close your eyes now, you join that lineage, drifting into a dream that is not meaningless, but filled with gentle guidance, whispers from within, carrying you closer to balance. Fact 45. In their mythology, the goddess Nut arched her star-speckled body across the sky, swallowing the sun at dusk and giving birth to it at dawn. Each night, she gathered all souls into her embrace, keeping them safe in her vast form. To imagine her is to picture yourself lying within the arms of the cosmos, held by a mother whose body is the heavens themselves. This thought eases the heart, letting you rest as if under an endless blanket of stars. Fact 46. Their artisans carved tiny shabby figures, little servants placed in tombs, meant to accompany the soul into the afterlife and perform tasks on its behalf. Each was inscribed with spells to ensure obedience. To us they seem small and silent, yet they carried immense hope. In dreams, too, such helpers appear, symbols, guides, images that serve you without your asking, tending to the hidden gardens of the mind as you sleep. Fact 47. The Nile itself was personified as a god, happy, round and abundant, carrying offerings of water, lotus flowers, and fish. He was not fierce, but gentle, bringing fertility with each flood. To live by the Nile was to live by his grace. Imagine, as you fall into rest, that a river flows quietly through your mind as well, nourishing, cleansing, carrying away what is heavy, leaving only renewal in its wake. Fact 48. The desert sky was their eternal ceiling, filled with constellations mapped into myths. They believed the Milky Way was a celestial reflection of the Nile, a river of stars above mirroring the river below. To lie under that sky was to see both worlds at once, heaven and earth in harmony. As you rest beneath your own night sky, remember that you too are reflected above, part of a mirrored infinity where nothing is ever truly apart. Fact 49. They crafted canopic jars to hold the organs of the deceased, each protected by one of Horus's 4 sons. The jars were topped with heads of human, baboon, falcon, and jackal, guardians of the body's sacred parts. This was not morbid, but reverent, a care so deep it reached into eternity. It reminds us now that every part of ourselves deserves care, even the hidden, even the fragile. Sleep is such care, a tender keeping of the self for another day. Fact 50. Above all, their world was woven with symbols, each object carrying layers of meaning. A lotus was not only a flower, but rebirth. A scarab was not only an insect, but the sun's eternal journey. To live in Egypt was to live in a tapestry where every detail whispered a secret. Your dreams tonight are the same. Each image, each figure, each place holding more than it shows. Let them unfold gently, like papyrus scrolls unrolling in the quiet, carrying you further into rest. Fact 51. Within their temples, priests observed the rising and setting of the stars, recording each subtle shift of the heavens. The Egyptians understood that the sky was a clock as much as a mystery, and they aligned their pyramids and sanctuaries to the constellations. Even the Great Pyramid's shafts point to stars like Orion and Sirius, as if the stones themselves were gazing into eternity. To think of this is to realize how deeply connected they felt to the night sky, and how your own dreams too are aligned, like stars in an invisible order guiding your sleep. Fact 52. In quiet courtyards, palm trees swayed, offering shade and sweetness. The date palm was life itself, providing fruit, wood, and shelter. It appeared in their art as a symbol of longevity and abundance. Imagine the soft rustle of palm fronds above you as you drift toward slumber, their rhythm like the whisper of waves, reminding you that nature's smallest sounds can cradle the heart. The Egyptians heard this too and painted palms as emblems of rest and renewal. Fact 53. They measured the floodwaters of the Nile with stone markers called nilometers, carved steps descending into the river's depths. The height of the water predicted the harvest. Too low meant famine, too high meant destruction, but just enough brought life. This delicate balance mirrors your own inner tides, the rise and fall of thoughts, the ebb and flow of emotions. As you breathe, you too are a nilometer, quietly sensing the waters within, finding balance without effort. Fact 54. Among their gods was Anubis, the jackal-headed guide of souls. He was not feared but trusted, for he accompanied the departed safely through the shadows. Black like the fertile soil of the Nile, Anubis was a symbol of protection in darkness. To imagine him is to picture a watchful presence, standing by your side as you rest. He reminds you that the night is not a place of fear but of passage, and that you are always guided, even when eyes are closed. Fact 55. They told stories of Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess of fire and strength, yet also of healing. Her name meant power, and her presence was both fierce and restorative. In dreams, powerful figures sometimes appear, startling yet purposeful. The Egyptians knew that strength and compassion can dwell in the same being. As you let go tonight, know that even the fierceness within you can transform into healing, roaring once and then settling into purrs that soothe the soul. Fact 56. Water lilies floated upon the Nile, their blossoms opening with the sun and closing at night. These flowers were more than decoration. They were symbols of creation, beauty born anew each morning. The Egyptians carved them into columns and painted them in tombs, reminders that life rises again from stillness. Picture a lily now, its petals folding softly with the night, as your own body folds into rest, carried upon the waters of dreams. Fact 57. They valued silence as much as words. In hieroglyphs, silence was represented by a man holding a finger to his lips, an image we still recognize today. To them, silence was sacred, the space where truth and balance could be heard. In your sleep, silence is not emptiness, but fullness, the canvas upon which dreams are painted. To rest within it is to hear the deep music of stillness, timeless and tender. Fact 58. Ancient artisans painted with pigments ground from earth itself, red ochre from desert stone, green from malachite, yellow from ochre clay. Their walls glowed with the colors of the land, transformed into eternal images. To imagine this is to see how even dust and rock can become beauty, how the simplest material becomes timeless art. Dreams do the same. They take fragments of your day, of your memory, and transform them into glowing visions that carry you deeper into yourself. Fact 59. The Egyptians believed names held power. To speak a name was to give it life. To erase a name was to erase existence. This is why they inscribed names carefully on walls, tombs, and statues. To carry your name was to carry your soul's echo. Tonight, know that your own name, whispered softly in your mind, is a kind of charm, a gentle reminder that you exist, unique and enduring, within the tapestry of time. Fact 60. And above it all, they saw life and death not as opposites, but as companions. To live well was to prepare for death, and to die was to be reborn into another form of life. They built their rituals, their art, their prayers around this truth, and so lived without haste, knowing that nothing is ever truly lost. As you let go into sleep, you step into this same rhythm, not an end, but a passage, not darkness but transformation, not absence but renewal. Each night, you too are reborn, carried by dreams into the quiet arms of eternity. Fact 61. In the hush of desert twilight, long shadows stretch across the sand, and here we remember the temples of Luxor, rising like eternal poems carved in stone. The Egyptians built them not in haste, but with patience that matched the rhythm of stars. Their walls glowed with torches, their columns lifted the sky, and every step through their courts was a journey deeper into silence. To them, a temple was not simply stone but a living body. Its columns were ribs, its sanctuary a heart. To enter it was to enter the pulse of the cosmos. Even now, when you close your eyes, you may imagine yourself moving between those columns, the air cool and fragrant with incense, the sound of distant chanting echoing like a lullaby. You are walking slowly, not to reach an end, but to feel the calm of being carried deeper and deeper inward, into that sacred chamber that is both temple and dream. Fact 62. The Egyptians believed the world began with water, an endless ocean called Nun, from which creation slowly rose. Upon its still surface, the first mound appeared, and on that mound bloomed the lotus, opening to reveal the young sun. This vision was not only myth, but meditation, an image of beginnings, of light unfolding from silence. To picture the lotus rising from calm waters is to remember that every day, every breath, even every dream is a new creation, an opening. As you lie here tonight, You too float upon the waters of none, your thoughts dissolving like ripples, your body becoming the mound upon which something gentle and luminous may appear, a dream as soft as dawn, as tender as the first light. Fact 63. Among their deities was Thoth, the ibis-headed keeper of wisdom, the scribe of the gods, who measured time, recorded truth, and offered words as bridges between worlds. To call upon Thoth was to seek clarity, to invite balance between the heart and the mind. His presence was not loud but quiet, like the careful stroke of a reed brush upon papyrus. In sleep, Thoth is near, reminding you that thoughts do not need to be forced, that wisdom writes itself softly across the scroll of your subconscious. The Egyptians trusted him to record their lives so that nothing was lost, and in the same way, your own hidden mind records the dreams you may forget, holding them gently in places beyond memory, yet always keeping them safe. Fact 64. The desert horizon was more than land. It was a threshold. They believed the West was the realm of the dead, because the sun descended there each evening. Tombs were built on the west bank of the Nile, facing the setting sun, so that the departed might follow its journey into eternity. But the West was not feared, it was embraced, a symbol of rest, of passage into another kind of light. As you lie in darkness now, you too follow the sun into the west, not in fear but in calm, knowing that night is not an end, but a pause, a tender folding of day into rest. Your body becomes the horizon, and within it, the sun of your spirit sinks gently, only to rise again in the dawn of dreams. Fact 65. The Egyptians adorned themselves with perfumes made from lotus, cinnamon, and frankincense, oils pressed and blended with care. To them, scent was more than pleasure. It was prayer, an invisible offering carried upon the air. Imagine the sweetness of lotus oil brushed upon your temples, the warmth of resin rising from a flame, the calm of breath scented with flowers and earth. Tonight, your dreams are perfumed too, not with flowers you can name, but with invisible fragrances, the scent of memory, of tenderness, of belonging. The Egyptians knew that even what vanishes in an instant, a whiff of incense, a drifting note of perfume, can linger forever in the soul. Fact 66. They told of Osiris, the god of rebirth, who was dismembered and then reassembled by love, becoming lord of the afterlife. His myth is one of cycles, of endings that become beginnings, of love stronger than loss. Each year, the flooding of the Nile was seen as his resurrection, waters rising as proof that life always returns. In dreams, too, fragments come together, scattered memories, forgotten images, hidden emotions forming new wholeness. As you surrender to sleep, you enter this Osirian rhythm, where nothing truly ends, where every part of you is gathered and renewed, where love holds together what time might separate. Fact 67. The desert winds sang against stone, and the Egyptians heard voices in that music. They carved vast statues, colossi, so tall that even the air seemed to hum around them. Some, like the colossi of Memnon, were said to sing at dawn, when the rising sun warmed their stone. Travelers from across the world wrote of hearing these ancient giants whisper. Imagine lying beneath such a statue, listening to its low song blending with the wind, a voice too deep for language, carrying only presence. Tonight, the air around you hums the same, a soft resonance of being, as if the world itself is singing you to sleep. Fact 68. The art of their jewelry was also an art of eternity. Scarabs carved of carnelian, eyes of Horus in turquoise and gold, amulets shaped like ankhs. Each piece was a prayer turned into matter. They did not wear ornaments only for beauty, but for protection, for guidance, for connection with the divine. In your dream world tonight, you too are adorned, not with metal, but with symbols luminous and subtle, jewels made of memory, shining quietly, each one carrying meaning beyond words. The Egyptians believed such symbols could guide the soul safely through unknown realms. And so, your own inner ornaments guide you now, across the waters of sleep. Fact 69. In their language, words were alive. To speak was to create, to call something into being. This is why hymns and prayers were repeated, why names were carved into stone. Silence held potential, but words gave form. As you breathe tonight, your breath is your first word, your primal hymn. Each exhale a soft creation drifting into the air. The Egyptians understood that words continue even after they are spoken, their echoes traveling into eternity. So too your dreams are words without letters, messages written not in ink but in light, in shadow, in the fabric of sleep. Fact 70. And always, above all, they return to balance. The scales of Maya weighed the heart against the feather, not to punish but to measure truth, to see if the soul was light enough to join eternity. This image is not harsh, but tender, a heart resting on one side, a feather drifting on the other, the universe pausing to see if harmony is achieved. As you drift now, your own heart grows lighter. Every breath lets go of a little weight. Every moment of stillness softens what you carried through the day. Soon your heart is as light as that feather, resting upon the scales of night, ready to be lifted into dreams where balance is not sought, but already found. Fact 71. Along the riverbanks, the papyrus plant grew tall and green, its feathery head swaying in the warm breeze. To the Egyptians, it was more than a plant. It was life itself, the material for their scrolls, their boats, their mats. It symbolized creation and endlessness, sprouting again and again after each harvest. To imagine a papyrus thicket is to imagine the very foundation of memory, for upon its stems were written prayers, stories, and songs that still reach us now. In your dreams, papyrus becomes the paper of your subconscious, unrolling to reveal words you do not yet know you carry, words as soft as the water's surface, as patient as reeds growing with each flood. Fact 72. They spoke of Ra, the sun god, who sailed each day across the sky in a golden boat and each night journeyed through the underworld, fighting darkness until dawn. But to them, this was not a tale of struggle, it was assurance. Each morning the sun rose again, and with it life renewed. To close your eyes is to join Ra in his night journey, not a battle, but a passage, sailing gently through unseen realms until morning light greets you once more. The Egyptians trusted the sun's return. You too can trust the dawn of your own awakening after dreams. Fact 73. The Ankh, that simple looped cross carved into stone and painted upon walls, was the sign of life eternal. It appeared in the hands of gods, offered to humans as a breath, as if saying, live not only in this moment, but forever. The shape itself, circle above line, carries balance, the sun rising, the path stretching. To hold the ink in your mind is to feel continuity, that your breath, your being, is part of a line that does not end. In dreams, such symbols appear without warning, glowing softly, and though you may not decipher them, they bless you with their quiet assurance. Fact 74. In the vast necropolis of Saqqara, step pyramids rise, the earliest monuments of their kind, built by Imhotep, the sage, architect, and healer. To imagine the first pyramid is to imagine the first reaching toward the sky, stones stacked like steps toward eternity. Each step is both ascent and pause, both foundation and height. As you drift, think of your own sleep as such a pyramid. Each breath another step upward, each dream another level, carrying you quietly toward the still point at the top, where sky and stone meet in silence. Fact 75. The Egyptians loved stories of animals who carried wisdom. The baboon, sacred to Thoth, was said to greet the rising sun with cries of joy, as if in worship. The frog symbolized fertility, emerging in great numbers after the floods. Even the humble dung beetle became a cosmic figure, its rolling ball echoing the movement of the sun. To them, nature spoke in symbols, and no creature was too small to carry divine meaning. Tonight, as you sleep, you may see animals in dreams, not random, but messages, companions of the subconscious guiding you with their simple presence. Fact 76. They built colossal gateways called pylons at the entrances of temples, wide as mountains, covered in carvings of gods and kings. To pass through them was to leave the ordinary world and step into sacred space. In your sleep, the same gateways appear, not of stone, but of symbols, of thresholds between waking and dreaming. You cross them without effort, moving inward, carried by the rhythm of breath, guided by the invisible architecture of your own mind. Fact 77. The goddess Isis was worshipped as the mother of magic, healer of wounds, gatherer of fragments. She was said to know the secret names of all things, which gave her power to restore life. Her image, wings outstretched, offered protection like a sheltering sky. To think of Isis is to feel that even the broken within us can be gathered, even the forgotten can be remembered, even the lost can be renewed. As you sleep, she hovers near, not as myth but as symbol, reminding you that healing is woven into the very act of rest. Fact 78. The Egyptians treasured music not only for joy but for harmony. The sistrum, a rattle sacred to Hathor, made a sound like sunlight shimmering on water. Harps curved like boats carried notes that drifted like sails upon wind. Flutes sang like reeds by the river. Music was not just heard but felt, a vibration within the body. Tonight, you too feel music in your breathing, the rise and fall of chest, the rhythm of heartbeats, the silent song of sleep that plays without sound, weaving calmness through your body as surely as harp strings through the air. Fact 79. The desert itself held secrets, shells buried in sand, remnants of ancient seas, fossils of fish and coral far from any water. To the Egyptians, these were signs that the earth had once been covered in the primeval flood. None. They knew the land kept memory of ages long gone. So too your mind holds seas that have long receded, layers of memory and experience hidden beneath the surface. Dreams are how these ancient waters rise again, not to overwhelm, but to remind you. Nothing is ever truly lost. Everything remains in some quiet form within. Fact 80. And finally, They believed that the soul had many parts: the Ka, the Ba, the Ak, spirit, personality, shining essence. At death, these parts scattered and then reunited through ritual, through prayer, through balance. Life itself was a weaving of these subtle layers, each one necessary for wholeness. You too are layered: body, breath, thought, memory, dream. Sleep gathers these fragments, drawing them close, reuniting what the day has scattered. Tonight, as you rest, you become whole again, your soul's pieces resting gently in harmony, like stars forming a constellation in the sky. Fact 81. In the desert's quiet, far beyond the noise of life, the pyramids stand as if they are breaths of the earth itself, exhaled upward toward the heavens. The Egyptians built them with a patience we can hardly imagine, one block at a time, aligned with the stars so precisely that even now their lines seem to converse with Orion and Sirius. These stone giants were not just tombs, but bridges between earth and eternity, between human effort and divine silence. To gaze upon a pyramid, even in the mind, is to feel yourself stilled, drawn into that same patience. Each dream you enter tonight is like one of those stones, fitted quietly into place, building a pyramid within your own spirit, a monument of calm rising higher with every breath. Fact 82. The Egyptians cherished the cycle of the moon. They followed its phases not only for counting months, but for guiding ritual and dream. The crescent, they believed, was a boat carrying gods across the night sky. The full moon was the radiant eye of Horus watching over the earth. Imagine lying beneath that same lunar glow, silver light spilling upon the river and the sand, turning the night into a soft ocean of pale fire. As you drift now, the moon sails above your dreams too, a guardian boat gliding silently, its light gentle enough not to wake you, but steady enough to keep your path illumined through the shadows of night. Fact 83. Their medicine blended earth and spirit. They knew how to use honey to heal wounds, garlic to strengthen, willow bark to ease pain. Yet alongside these remedies, they recited prayers, invoking divine power, for to them, body and soul were inseparable. Healing was a weaving of touch, herb, and word. In this, there is a truth you can feel even now, that your body restores itself not only through chemistry, but through stillness, through breath, through the invisible music of calm. As you sleep, your cells repair, your mind unwinds, your spirit mends. You are a temple tended by unseen healers, the night itself acting as a priest, whispering health back into your bones. Fact 84. The Egyptians spoke of the Ba, the soul that could travel in the form of a bird with a human head, flying from tomb to sky, from temple to dream. At night, the Ba was free, visiting places beyond the body. This vision mirrors your own dreaming self, unbound, soaring, seeing landscapes both familiar and strange. Tonight, your Ba takes flight too. It rises gently from your resting form, spreads wings of light, and drifts into the skies of imagination, unafraid, unchained. Dreams are the flight paths of your Ba, carrying you through the invisible realms that lie between waking and eternity. Fact 85. They carved the Djed pillar, a symbol of Osiris, representing strength and stability. It appeared in amulets, in walls, in rituals of renewal. The Djed was not only a pillar of stone but a pillar of life, reminding people that even when storms shake the surface, something deep remains unbroken. To rest tonight is to feel your own Jed rising within you, a spine of calm strength, holding you steady as you drift. Though your mind floats among shifting images, though your breath slows into softness, at the core of you there is a pillar that does not fall, a calm that endures. Fact 86. The sacred cat, with its luminous eyes, was more than a companion. It was a guardian of homes and shrines. Batet, the goddess cat, embodied gentleness, joy, and protection. In paintings, she is shown holding a sistrum, her gaze calm, her presence both playful and divine. Imagine a cat curled near you now, not of fur but of spirit, silent, alert, its breathing steady, its warmth a shield around your rest. The Egyptians trusted the quiet strength of this creature, and tonight, you too are guarded by such watchfulness, so that your heart may unclench and your dreams may open. Fact 87. They believed the sky itself was alive. The goddess Nut arched over the earth, her body painted with stars, swallowing the sun each night and giving birth to it each dawn. Each glittering point upon her skin was a soul, a story, a secret light. To imagine her presence is to imagine being cradled not by stone, not by land, but by the infinite sky, as if you are lying within a mother whose embrace is vast enough to hold eternity. You rest now within her body, each star above you not distant but near, each one a lullaby flickering softly against your closed eyes. Fact 88. The Egyptians filled their world with symbols of eternity. The Shun ring, a circle of rope with its ends knotted, represented infinity, the unbroken cycle of life. To wear it was to wear protection against endings. In truth, your own dreams are Shun rings, circles without edges, where images fold into one another endlessly. As you fall deeper, you enter such circles, a river that becomes a road, a face that becomes the moon, a room that becomes the sky. Nothing ends, everything transforms. The Egyptians would smile to see how their ancient rings still turn within the wheel of your sleep. Fact 89. In their hymns, voices rose to greet the dawn, to thank the Nile, to praise the gods. These songs were not always grand. Some were simple lines of gratitude, repeated softly, as if to stitch the heart back into balance. To sing was to connect with eternity, to place oneself within the music of the universe. You may not sing aloud tonight, but your breath sings for you. The rhythm of inhale and exhale is your hymn, your offering, your prayer. The Egyptians would have recognized it, would have bowed their heads, hearing the ancient music that carries every sleeper into morning. Fact 90. And always, they placed trust in the unseen. They built tombs for journeys they had not yet taken, prepared food for feasts beyond this world, wrote prayers for moments their living eyes would never read. To live with such trust is to live in peace, knowing that the unseen is as real as the seen. Tonight, as you close your eyes, you do the same. You enter dreams you cannot predict, trusting that they will carry you, heal you, remind you. The Egyptians lived with faith in the invisible. You too now float upon it, safe, surrendered, surrounded by silence as eternal as the desert night. Fact 91. In the sands of Egypt, hidden deep in tombs, there were painted ceilings covered with stars, each one carefully dotted upon plaster, turning stone into sky. To lie beneath such a ceiling was to feel that heaven had descended into earth, The Egyptians believed the soul would sleep under those stars until it rose into eternity. Tonight, your own ceiling of dreams glimmers in silence. Your mind a chamber painted with constellations invisible to waking eyes, but shining brightly in the quiet sky within you. Fact 92. They saw the desert not only as boundary, but as protector. The dry air preserved bodies, colors, scrolls, voices from millennia ago. Where other lands lost their past to rain and rot, Egypt's sands kept memory intact. To dream of desert is to dream of stillness that guards what is fragile. In your sleep, too, a desert spreads, not barren, but protective, keeping safe the delicate scrolls of your heart until you are ready to open them again. Fact 93. In their festivals, they celebrated not just gods but the turning of seasons, the rising of the river, the ripening of grain. Joy was woven into their religion as naturally as breath. To dance, to sing, to feast was to honor the sacred as much as any prayer. In your dreams, joy also appears, sometimes as laughter, sometimes as color, sometimes as a sudden flight. The Egyptians remind you, joy is not an interruption of the sacred, but its very essence. Fact 94. They carved images of the eye of Horus, the Wedjat, upon amulets and coffins, painted it on boats, etched it into walls. It was protection, vision, wholeness. A single eye gazing both outward and inward, seeing both the world and the soul. In dreams, too, you sometimes feel watched, not in fear, but in comfort, as if a gentle eye is guarding you. This is Horus's gift, that nothing is unseen, and that the night itself watches over you tenderly. Fact 95. Their boats of the afterlife were carved into tombs, painted upon walls, built as models to accompany the dead. They knew that the journey continued, always upon water, always toward another horizon. To dream of a boat is to dream of this passage, of being carried without effort, guided by unseen currents. Tonight, you too are a passenger upon such a vessel, drifting across the dark waters of sleep, knowing that every shore you reach is simply another beginning. Fact 96. They adorned their temples with colossal statues of kings and gods, faces serene, lips curved in quiet confidence. To stand before such a statue was to feel the immensity of calm, a reminder that eternity does not hurry. Imagine such a face now, larger than life, gazing with kindness yet silence. You carry that same calm within you, a still presence that watches without judgment, waiting patiently while you rest. Fact 97. The Egyptians told stories of the primeval mound rising from waters, the first land of creation, upon which life began. Each temple was built as a replica of that mound, a reminder of beginnings. Even your dreams tonight are such mounds, small places of creation rising from the waters of sleep. Upon them new images bloom, new feelings open, as quietly as lotus petals. The beginning is always here, always renewed, always waiting in the gentle dark. Fact 98. They cherished writing not only for record but for magic. To inscribe a spell was to make it real. To write a name was to preserve a soul. Each sign, each stroke was an act of creation. Your own dreams are written too, not in ink, but in shifting images and feelings. They are your hieroglyphs of night, etched upon the papyrus of your mind. Even if forgotten by morning, they remain carved into the deep chambers of memory, shaping you softly. Fact 99. The Egyptians believed eternity was not far away, but woven into every sunrise, every planting, every heartbeat. To live well was already to live forever. This truth is simple yet profound. Immortality is not in endless years, but in each moment fully lived. Tonight, as you breathe slowly, you are already in eternity. The rhythm of your heart, the stillness of your body, the unfolding of your dreams. All of these are part of forever, already here. Fact 100. And so, after countless stories, symbols, temples, and myths, we reach the final truth the Egyptians knew: that death and sleep are siblings, both passages into mystery, both returns to silence, both openings to renewal. To close your eyes was not an ending but a sacred act, a small rehearsal for eternity. As you rest now, you are held in that same gentle mystery. The ancients sleep beside you, the stars keep their watch, and the Nile flows softly on. The story breathes its last words like a sigh, and then it too falls silent, curling into the embrace of night. The journey has carried us through 100 soft secrets, 100 murmurs of ancient Egypt, each one a grain of sand placed upon the desert of your mind, until the whole landscape has been remade into memory. And now, as the story folds itself back upon itself like the river curving once more into its bends, we pause, not to end, but to breathe, to let everything settle into a deeper stillness. For the Egyptians believed that nothing was ever finished, that all things circled like the sun, the moon, the river, and the stars. And so, this reflection is not a conclusion but a return, a drifting back across waters we have already sailed, to feel them again in new softness. You have walked with the Nile, heard its silver current whispering through fields of green and desert stretches. The river was their lifeline, the giver of bread and beer, the carrier of boats, the mirror of the heavens. Each flood was a rebirth, and each drought a silence waiting for renewal. The Nile has been the constant pulse of our story, flowing quietly beneath every fact, nourishing pyramids and temples alike. And as you breathe now, slowly, steadily, you carry a river inside you too, a rhythm as patient as water moving toward the sea, as timeless as blood circling within your heart. The Egyptians knew this, and tonight, so do you. You are carried by something vast, even in stillness. We have stood together before pyramids, those mountains of stone, each block a testament to human patience. They rise in silence, sharp yet softened by centuries of sand and wind. Their geometry aligns with the stars, their presence humbles and comforts, reminding us that endurance can be as serene as breath. When you dream tonight, your mind builds pyramids too, shapes rising from memory and imagination, monuments of the subconscious assembled without effort. You will wake and forget their architecture, yet their foundations will remain, as steady and enduring as the stone giants upon the Giza Plateau. We have gazed at the great Sphinx, the lion-bodied, human-faced guardian of mysteries, and felt its patience. It does not explain, it only watches. It knows that silence itself is a kind of answer. And so, as your body grows heavier with sleep, you too become a sphinx, still, unmoving, yet filled with quiet depth. You do not need to know everything. You need only to rest, to watch inwardly, to let the sand cover your questions until the dawn brushes them away again. We have entered painted tombs, walked among hieroglyphs and murals of afterlife journeys, and seen ceilings spangled with stars. The Egyptians wrote their prayers not to be read once, but to echo forever. In the same way, your dreams are written upon the scroll of night, words that fade by morning but remain inscribed within your deeper self. Hieroglyphs of birds and eyes and spirals remind us that every symbol is more than it seems, that dreams, too, carry layers, each image a doorway into hidden truth. We have spoken of the heart, which they saw not only as a beating organ, but as the seat of memory, wisdom, and truth. To them, the heart would be weighed against the feather of Maat, and only if it was light enough could the soul pass on. This vision is not fearful, but tender, a reminder to live lightly, to carry no more than you must. As you exhale tonight, feel your heart growing lighter with every breath until it floats like that sacred feather, balanced in harmony with the universe. We have met their gods. Ra sailing the sun boat across the sky, Nut stretching her starry body overhead, Osiris gathering fragments into wholeness, Isis spreading her protective wings, Horus flying as falcon, Anubis guiding souls through shadow, Hathor filling the air with music, Batet purring as guardian of home. Each god is more than myth. Each is an image of something already inside you. Ra is your daily awakening, Osiris your renewal after hardship, Isis your healing love, Horus your clear vision, Anubis your quiet trust in the night, Batet your inner softness that guards without violence. To know these gods is to know yourself more deeply, to recognize in every dream a trace of divine archetype unfolding in your mind's theater. We have stood beneath obelisks, tall spires carved from a single stone, frozen rays of sunlight piercing the sky. They remind us that light can take form, that what is invisible can be anchored into matter. Your dreams are obelisks too, shafts of meaning rising from the ground of your subconscious, pointing always toward the mystery above. You do not need to climb them. You need only to let them stand, silent and luminous, in your inner landscape. We have touched papyrus scrolls, fragile yet enduring, upon which voices of love and prayer still live. To hold such a scroll is to feel the presence of a person long gone, their words surviving the millennia as if freshly written. So too, within you, old words remain, phrases spoken years ago, memories forgotten but not erased, voices of your own past selves. In sleep, those voices rise again, not to burden but to remind you. You are a scroll written by time, and every line matters. We have heard the music of harps and flutes, the shimmer of sistrums, the lullabies sung by mothers to children who have long since become dust. That music has not ended. It drifts still, inaudible yet present in the vibrations of air and memory. Tonight, your body is an instrument too, your breath the strings, your heartbeat the drum, your silence the pause between notes. You are a lullaby playing itself, and the night is listening. We have smelled incense and perfume, offerings of lotus and myrrh, oils pressed from flowers and resins, rising like invisible prayers. Scent is memory's most delicate key, and the Egyptians knew it well. You, too, carry invisible fragrances in your sleep, the perfume of places remembered, of moments softened, of emotions unspoken. They drift around you now, not of this room, but of inner chambers, where memory becomes aroma and lingers long after the source is gone. We have walked with animals, the sacred cat with watchful eyes, the falcon soaring in sunlight, the ibis stepping in wisdom, the scarab rolling its sphere like the sun across the sky. Each creature was a teacher, a mirror of cosmic rhythm. In your dreams, animals appear too, sometimes familiar, sometimes strange, yet always meaningful. They are guardians of your subconscious, silent companions guiding you where logic cannot. The Egyptians listened to them, and tonight you can too. We have stood in the Valley of the Kings, entered the tomb of Tutankhamun, seen treasures buried in silence, including a dagger made of star metal, forged from a meteorite. This single blade reminds us that heaven and earth are not separate. The sky falls to the ground, and the ground shapes the sky. Your dreams, too, are made of star metal, fragments of infinite cosmos melted into the form of personal images. You may forget them by morning, but their substance remains, cosmic and human at once. We have reflected upon balance, Ma'at, the eternal harmony that held the universe together. To live in Ma'at was to live truthfully, gently, without excess or weight. Even now, balance is what sleep restores to you. Your mind balances memory with forgetting, your body balances strain with rest, your spirit balances wakefulness with dream. The feather drifts across your chest, lighter than air, reminding you that rest is already balance, and that by lying here, you are already in harmony with the cosmos. And so the story gathers itself. Pyramids and papyrus, rivers and deserts, gods and animals, music and silence, all circling back into a single rhythm. The Egyptians knew that eternity was not something beyond life, but woven into every cycle, every breath, every dawn. Tonight, you are already in that eternity. The story has sung itself into sleep, and you lie within its echoes. The Nile flows on, the stars turn overhead, and you are part of both. The story does not rush towards silence. It drifts there, like the Nile spreading into its delta, each branch slower, softer, until river becomes sea. You have traveled through pyramids, temples, hieroglyphs, music, animals, stars, and gods, and now all of them gather together, not in noise, but in hush, their voices blending into a single breath. The ancients believed that when life ended, the soul was not extinguished, but reunited with all it had ever known. Tonight, your dreams are such a reunion. Each symbol, each image, each sound you have carried is returning, not separately, but woven together into a single, endless fabric. Imagine yourself standing upon the desert at dusk. The air is cooling, the sand still warm beneath your feet. Behind you, the pyramids glow with amber light, their shadows stretching like arms across the plain. Ahead of you, the Nile gleams silver under the first rising stars. Above, the goddess Nut bends her body across the sky, her skin scattered with constellations. Around you, every god, every creature, every symbol we have spoken of gathers silently. Ra's golden boat gliding behind the horizon, Isis with wings extended, Anubis standing watch, Hathor shaking her sistrum, Bastet's eyes glowing softly, Osiris green with renewal, Horus soaring as falcon. They do not speak. They do not need to. Their presence alone is enough. You are not separate from them. You are within them, and they within you. You remember papyrus reeds rustling by the water, their thin stalks becoming scrolls that carried voices across time. You remember the scent of lotus rising from dark ponds, closing at night and opening at dawn, petals like breaths. You remember the sound of harps, of flutes, of mothers singing lullabies that echo across centuries. You remember incense burning, smoke curling upward, vanishing into air, yet leaving behind the trace of something eternal. You remember jewelry glowing in the desert sun, carved into scarabs, ankhs, and eyes, each carrying a secret meaning. You remember hieroglyphs etched into stone, birds and spirals that speak even when their language is forgotten. And as you remember, you realize these are no longer Egypt's alone. They are yours too, now inscribed within the scroll of your mind. The Egyptians did not fear the dark, they entered it with trust. To them, sleep and death were brothers, not enemies, both passages into mystery. Tombs were not endings, but houses of eternity, painted with fields of reeds, with boats sailing to horizons, with banquets of joy awaiting souls. When you close your eyes tonight, you too step into such a house of eternity. The walls are painted with your own symbols, the ceiling glittered with your own stars, the chambers filled with treasures that are not gold but memory, not jewels but tenderness. You will forget these by morning, perhaps, yet forgetting is not loss. It is only silence, a veil drawn across a face that is still there. The ancients trusted in cycles. The sun swallowed at dusk to be reborn at dawn, the Nile receding to rise again, the seed buried to sprout anew. They knew that life does not end, it transforms. And so too your night is a transformation. The busy thoughts of day dissolving into the stillness of sleep, the fragments of memory reassembling into wholeness, the heavy body becoming light as it sinks into rest. You are not ending the day, you are renewing it. The way Osiris rose each year with the flood, the way the Bennu bird lifted itself from fire into dawn. There is a rhythm to this reflection, slow and certain, like footsteps across temple floors. Each step echoes, and then the echo fades, leaving silence deeper than before. The Egyptians filled their temples with echoes, chants repeated until stone itself seemed to breathe, footsteps reverberating beneath high columns until it felt as if the gods were walking beside them. You feel the same now. Each thought, each image you recall from our journey is an echo that fades into the silence of your own inner temple. Soon even echoes will be gone, and only silence will remain, not empty, but sacred. Imagine lying in the field of reeds, that eternal paradise they envisioned. The stalks rise golden above you, swaying gently in a wind that never dies. The river glimmers nearby, endless and calm. Loved ones, long lost, walk slowly through the fields, smiling, but not speaking, for words are unnecessary here. Everything is ease, everything is abundance, everything is enough. You are there too, lying upon the soft earth, watching the sky, knowing that this place is not separate from you, but already within you. It is not far, it is here, in the chamber of sleep you now enter. The heart, weighed against the feather, is now light. You feel it in your chest, beating slowly, gently, without burden. Each breath is a release, each exhale a loosening of the knots tied during the day. The Egyptians taught that to live in ma'at, in balance, was to ensure the heart would weigh as lightly as the feather of truth. Tonight, you are already in that balance. Your heart drifts in equilibrium, untroubled, ready to float upon the scales of dream. And so the story curls inward. The pyramids fade into silhouettes, the river glimmers one last time, the gods withdraw into silence, the hieroglyphs close like books. Yet nothing is lost. Everything remains within you, not as knowledge to recall, but as calmness to feel. The ancients have given you their secrets, that life is balance, that silence is sacred, that eternity is here, that every ending is another beginning. These truths are not heavy. They are light as feathers, floating now through your sleep. The story itself lies down beside you. Its voice grows softer, slower, until even words become like breaths. It exhales, and you exhale. It falls quiet, and you too fall into quiet. Egypt remains, in the sand, in the stars, in your memory, but the telling of it has reached its own rest. And so, with you it sleeps,